Hi, I'm Lori Leek. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm working on making some dinner for my husband and myself, and I thought I would share that process with you. Making one of the old tried and true recipes from the original Trim Healthy Mama cookbook. It's called cheeseburger pie. The recipe uses 2 pounds of ground beef, and I have used one of the sisters' ideas of extending the ground beef by using mushrooms in it. So when I cooked up the ground beef, I also cooked up an equal amount of mushrooms and that were minced up in a food processor. So this is about 2 pounds total of meat and mushrooms. So a pound of meat and a pound of mushrooms cooked together. So the recipe calls for ground beef, salt and seasonings, including onion powder, cheese, eggs, mayonnaise, cream, optional onions, pickles, jalapenos, or tomatoes. So I am going to, instead of using onion powder, I'm just going to use onion because I'd rather have the fresh onion in the recipe. I have some cherry tomatoes or some grape tomatoes over here, but I'm going to save those to use them in a salad kind of dish. So this will just have the ground beef, the mayonnaise, cream, eggs, cheese. I'll probably put some dill pickle relish in this to give it a little tang, and I think I also have some pickled diced up jalapenos, so I'll use those. This is a very fat heavy dish. It would work well in a low carb diet or probably even a keto diet. So anyway, I'll go ahead and start putting this together for you. I put the ground beef into this large pie pan. I think it's a 12-inch pie pan. It's much bigger than a standard 8 or 9. And then I realized I wasn't going to have enough room to mix in the other things that I wanted to mix in. I'm going to be using this cheese, and so I don't want an overflowing mess. I decided that I would go ahead and transfer from here into a springform pan. I know I could cook this recipe in a 9x13 casserole dish, but I don't really want to do that. I want to have the pie shape when I go ahead and cut this to serve. So I'm going to go ahead and make this as a pie shaped thing, but in a more of a deep dish kind of situation. And so that's my next step, is to just transfer and start putting it together. Already I can tell that I have more room to work with and I won't have an overflowing mess. So I'm going to mix in some of the cheese. I will hold some back to top it with. The recipe calls for about 12 ounces of cheese, and that's roughly what I have here in this. So you just kind of mix it in a little bit. Whoops. The ring popped off. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, that feels secure. Clean up this mess. Capture this back in. Okay, so just stir that in a little bit. The cheese mixed in with the ground beef will help bind it together a little bit. I'm having ring problems here. I don't need that when it's baking. Wondering what's going on. Wondering how to solve that problem. See if I force it. Suppose I could wrap some tape around here just to ensure that that doesn't pop open. So that's what it's done twice. This lever's popped open twice. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that. Part of being competent in the kitchen is being able to solve problems that arise, and you will have problems in the kitchen. So sometimes you have to improvise your ingredients. Sometimes you have to come up with solutions to fix situations like this. So I'm thinking of the masking tape as a workable solution for making sure that ring won't pop open on me while it's baking. The masking tape, I think, will withstand the heat of the oven. Being sort of a paper-based tape. And I know I'm using a lot of tape, but I want to make sure that it stays closed instead of popping open again. So I've gone around almost 3 times. I think that will make sure that it stays locked. Okay, and thinking I'm going to use some more of the cheese in this and just hold back this amount for my topping, because I don't need a big thick layer of cheese on top. But I do want this thing to stick together, to bind together well. And the melting cheese as part of this recipe will help that happen. Okay, so there's that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some onion. I have this tiny little red onion, and I have some left over, some very thinly sliced red onion left over from another day when I was using one. And I think I'm going to go ahead, this is not enough onion to suit me, so I'm going to go ahead and just grab another couple onions over here. So I have 2 more red onions, and I will cut those up, and that'll be the next thing that I do. I'm not going to make you sit through the whole cutting up onion process, but I do want to share a couple of kitchen tips with you. So I cut off the ends, and I'll do that with the other 2 onions, but I'm just going to demonstrate on this one. Then I cut it in half, and I peel away the outside layer, and I will repeat that with these 2, but what I really want to point out is I save kitchen scraps, so I'm going to teach you about that. Oh, the teary eyes. So I finished getting the peel off from those onions, and I went to my freezer and I pulled out my kitchen scraps bag. And I will put these onion peels in here, and that will be tossed back in the freezer. So to give you an example of what works to go in the scrap bag, there are, let's see, I know that this is a core from a cauliflower that I did the other day. There are carrot pieces in here from when I was doing a decorative carrot thing, and I ended up with little scraps, so there's some of those in there. Yellow onion skin is in here. There are broccoli peelings from the stems, the hard outer stem of a broccoli. So it just all gets tossed in here, and when this bag is full, I will put it in my Instant Pot and pressure cook it for 4 hours and make a vegetable broth with it. I'll show you that in just a second. I went to the back freezer and pulled out 3 of the bags of vegetable broth that I have in there. So this is just a good money-saving tip. What I did was I filled up these baggies with the vegetable broth and then laid them on this tray and stuck them in the freezer until they froze solid. And then I get my tray back to use here in the kitchen. But anyway, this is one of my kitchen tricks. About these red onions. Most people would use white onions. I just wanted to use up the red onions. And onions can be kind of carby as a vegetable. So if you're really being strict with keto, you're not going to want to do the onions. You'll want to stick with the idea of using onion powder. But I want the nutrition of the fresh onions, not just the flavor of the onion powder. And I don't mind the carbs that they're going to add here to this. I still consider this within a reasonable choice for keeping carbs low in this meal that I'm making for us tonight. We're having a fat-based meal. So the onions are stirred in, and then the next thing to do will be, I think, to mix up the liquid stuff that goes on top. No, actually, I'm going to be putting the jalapenos in here and the pickles, or the dill relish. So I don't have very much dill relish left, but I will use what I have. It's probably about 1/4 cup. And I already put that on my shopping list, so I will remember to pick up some more. And these are the diced jalapenos. So I think maybe 2 good spoonfuls of that will do. Mix that in. Now that the meat, cheese, and onion and relish and jalapeno pieces are in here and it's all mixed together, it's now time to mix up the liquid mixture that will be poured over the top that will bake and hold it together as the cheeseburger pie. And that liquid mixture consists of some eggs. It calls for 2 eggs in the recipe. I'm using 3 because I want the extra binding effect. And mayonnaise, and this is homemade mayonnaise. I will link my video for making homemade mayonnaise in the bottom of this video. And then it also calls for 1/2 cup of cream. Now, my husband and I drink our coffee black, but we like to have cream on hand in case a guest shows up and they want cream in their coffee, or if I'm cooking something, I want to make whipped cream, or I'm using cream in this recipe, for instance. So this week I did have a guest show up and she wanted to have cream in her coffee, so I got out my boxed cream. And this is what's left over. I'm going to use it in the recipe, about 1/2 cup of it. I'll have to figure out something else to do with the rest. Do I think that shelf-stable food is the best choice? No, I don't. I think that shelf-stable food is not the best thing, but it is what it is, so I'm going to use this up. Okay, the liquid mixture is all mixed together. And I want to comment that it is so yellow because my friend's chickens are foraging chickens and they have the most intense colored yolks, intense orange yolks. So anyway, I'm going to pour this over the top and then I will encourage it on down inside. I need to get a spatula. Don't want to waste any of that. So use a spatula, scrape it out. And now to kind of encourage it down in. Spread it around. I think that this dish would work just fine too if you mixed everything up in a bowl and then poured it all in here. It doesn't have to be made in layers. As a matter of fact, that might be the most uniform way to make it. The other thing about this dish is it is a freezer-friendly dish. so it will work well. Oh, what the heck, I'm just gonna stir the stuff up because I don't see it mixing in really well. Like I said, part of being a good cook is being able to improvise in the kitchen, and I just had the sense that this wasn't gonna hold together well without being mixed up, so I'm mixing it up. You just have to use your common sense sometimes in cooking. Now it's more uniform, and the eggs and the cheese ought to hold this together pretty well. I'll smooth it out. And I will clean up the sides too. I don't like to have it ugly. Spatula works really well for that. Clean edge of the spatula kind of cleans it up. Okay. Now, it also says that you can top this with ketchup and mustard. What else? Let's see. Our children love to top this pie with a little mustard and lots of ketchup. If topping with ketchup, make sure you use a homemade one without sugar or a store-bought sugar-free version. So I will leave the mustard and the ketchup to the end for the serving time, and I probably will just put those two options on the table when we get ready to serve. But this is ready for the oven now. I just remembered I didn't top it with the cheese, but I don't think I want to put the cheese on yet. I'm gonna let it bake until it's close to finished, and then I'll go ahead and top it with the cheese so that the cheese doesn't kind of get overbaked and too brown. So some mistakes turn out good. Okay, the other thing is, what goes with cheeseburgers? Fries, cheeseburger and fries. So Trim Healthy Mama has a recipe called green fries, which are green beans that are dressed up with different seasonings and baked on a cookie sheet. And so I'm going to make the green fries to go with our cheeseburger pie tonight. Something I've learned about green fries. One person can eat a lot of green fries. This is a 1 pound, 8 ounce bag. The serving suggestion on the bag says that it should feed 8 people, but this is gonna feed just the 2 of us. Now the cheeseburger pie, we will not finish that all by ourselves, but we will finish this bag of green beans turned into fries all by ourselves. This recipe is one that they have shared on the fan page, Facebook fan page. I've got my iPad here with my recipes in front of me. So they've shared it in the Trim Healthy Mama cookbook and in their original book, just like the 2 books that I showed you earlier. The original book, page 357, and the cookbook, page 218. Oh, it's also in the Trim Healthy table because this is one of the most popular Trim Healthy Mama family vegetable recipes. So I'm gonna put together the ingredients here. It uses a little bit of fat to help things cling. So I use avocado oil instead of olive oil. Olive oil I tend to use just on cold dishes. I don't want to subject it to heat. And then you use some nutritional yeast. Good dose of that. Some onion powder, just sprinkled over the top. Garlic powder, but not quite as heavy-handed as the onion powder. A little gentler with the garlic powder. And salt. That's probably plenty. And then it just gets all mixed together. All right, now I'm gonna put this out on a cookie sheet for baking. One of the things I do is cover my cookie sheets with aluminum foil. I won't do make all the racket for you, but that way after these things have baked, I can just collect up the aluminum foil and chuck it in the trash, and the tray goes back in the cupboard. It saves me some time. Yes, I'm aware of the dangers of aluminum foil. I pick my battles to die on. I use deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it. I use aluminum-free baking powder, but this is a shortcut I am going to take. So now these get spread out in a thinnish layer. I use very large cookie sheets because it just makes more sense for us to do that than to use two smaller ones. And I will see if I can find the ones that I ordered off Amazon and link those in here. As I also use very large bowls because an 8-cup bowl just drives me crazy. That's a small mixing bowl in my mind. Okay, so there's that. I had these Brussels sprouts sitting out on the island over there. I was thinking that I would cook them with our dinner tonight because I like to get a lot of vegetables into us. But then I decided that the green fries are kind of in the green thing. The meat cheeseburger casseroles on the dark side. So I'm going to focus more on making a salad out of these grape tomatoes and an avocado that I have and some cucumbers in the fridge. So that's my next thing to make. And these will just go back in the fridge and they will be used in another meal. Okay, I think that these things will make a decent raw vegetable salad. One of the things I try to do when I put together a meal is always include some raw foods for the enzymes. Everything that is cooked, the enzymes are killed. So this will be part of our raw food portion of the dinner. I have some radishes that are looking a little sad, so they need to be used up. And then the grape tomatoes, the Persian cucumbers, and the avocado. So, and then I have some frozen parsley that's already chopped up in my freezer. That was shown in a video called Saving Your Greens or something like that. So I will link that video in this video. I'm going to use some of that parsley to throw into this too because parsley is very, very nutritious. So I'm going to start putting this together. Remember I said that part of being a good cook in the kitchen is being able to improvise. And as I started cutting up these tomatoes, realized that a lot of them are just mushy. It's as though they've sat there and rotted. Now, they look perfectly fine on the outside, but they're squishy. And so I don't want them in our salad, making our salad taste off from tomatoes that have gone bad. These were some that were in a one of those put together snack dishes, and somebody gave me them to take home after a gathering the other day. Evidently, they are not good, even though they look good. So these are just going to go in the trash, and our salad, I'm going to use more radishes for the red color, and because I have another bag of radishes in the fridge. So we're improvising a little bit. All right, so the cucumbers are all sliced and ready to go in. You may have noticed that I'm using these flexible cutting mats. I love that they're flexible like this. I can kind of curl them up and put things into a baggie more easily. Of course it does this, and they're just lightweight and work really well for me. So if you can find some at your local store, like Walmart or Target or something, flexible cutting mats, highly approve. With radishes, I just hold them and slice them here in my hand. But the cucumbers I would slice on the cutting mat. I did slice them on the cutting mat. Now I'm going to stir this up and just look at the combination of colors and see if I'm happy with the ratio. I do have another couple of these cucumbers in the fridge, but I don't think I'll use them. I'll save them for another meal as some raw food for another meal. So I think that combo is right. And I'm thinking that I will save back my avocado too. I can use that in another meal. It's not too ripe. It's at the peak of perfection, but it's not gonna go bad on me quickly. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator now that it's perfectly ripe, and that will slow down the ripening process. So this is gonna go in the fridge, and I'm gonna be back with some of the parsley to throw that in here. Now I had this 2-gallon Ziploc bag filled with frozen chopped parsley, and I've worked my way through it. So I need to buy some more parsley because I want to have that on hand. Now, even though this is a frozen green, it doesn't get all slimy like freezing a lettuce would do. So this holds up really well, and I can just put a couple handfuls in here and see how that looks. Looks about a right ratio. Maybe I'll use it a little bit more. So I have just enough to accent another recipe or add to a cooking recipe, but parsley is really, really nutritious. I encourage you to throw it in your food as much as possible. Now it's time to dress this salad, and here is where the olive oil comes in. A cold dish where the olive oil won't be subjected to any heat. So just drizzle that over the top. That's about right. I just want to kind of coat it a little bit. And we want some acid to it. Apple cider vinegar will fit the bill. A little bit of acid. And some pepper. A good dose of salt. Stir that all up. I will taste it closer to when I'm getting ready to serve. For now, this will just go in the refrigerator and stay chilled until it gets closer to plating the food. I'm not going to taste it now because I'm fasting and I don't want to break my fast for this. So this is ready to go in the fridge. When I put the radish cucumber salad into the fridge, I saw this, and this is some jicama that is dressed with lime juice and tahini seasoning, which is, let's see if I have that here in the pantry. Tahini. Not the pantry, the cupboard. I do have that. Let me go get that. Okay, this is tahini. It is made with chili peppers, salt, some citric acid that gives it that tartness like the lime juice does, dehydrated lime juice. And so when I haven't had tahini in the house, I've gone ahead and just used chili powder and salt and lime juice, but I did have a bottle of tahini, so I used that to make this peeled and sliced up jicama. Now I'm going to go ahead and serve that tonight too. So this will be our second raw dish, and I'm glad we're getting into raw things. I'm bringing you over to the oven to show you how the cheeseburger pie is baking. Now it has little bubbles going on all around, which tells me that it's heated through and it's cooking well, and there's no jiggle to it from the liquid ingredients. Now it's time to go ahead and top it with the remaining cheese. And then I'll just let it keep baking until this cheese has melted and gotten a little bit of brown on it. Now if it doesn't melt and brown quickly enough, I can give it a little kiss with the broiler, turning the broiler on high and letting it do the browning. So this is good here. Okay. Oh, the fridge was beeping at me. All right, that's on here nicely. That will go back in the oven. I pulled the cheeseburger pie out of the oven. I did give it a little bit of browning with the broiler, and I'm about to put the oven fries into the oven to bake. I want everything to be ready when Steve comes home from work for dinner. So I could have baked all of this together, but I knew that I would be wanting to let this cool off a little bit and set up so that I could go ahead and cut it nicely, cleanly as part of serving. So this is gonna go into the oven now. Okay, and that is taken care of. And see what I said about the masking tape? It didn't burn, so that came out well. That little hack seemed to be a good solution. So the next thing to figure out is how this is gonna come out of the ring and whether it will cut cleanly or not. I'm gonna get a knife to go around the edges. Okay, so just to make sure that it's cleared from the edge of the pan, not sticking to it. Feels like it's set up very nicely. Okay, open the ring. I can feel a little sticking to the edge, so I'm gonna free that. Okay, so there is our cheeseburger pie. Let's see, I think I'll just cut it all the way across. Still nice and hot. This is cutting beautifully. And so I think I want to serve us, well, let's see. I feel like a quarter piece is too small. So I'm going to be generous and cut this half. Well, I'm not sure I did that evenly, but that's okay. Into thirds. Yeah, probably I'll serve us both these bigger third pieces. It's fairly even, but so now I know that that's going to serve up nicely on the plate for dinner. I can keep it warm in the toaster oven. So the oven fries are baking in the oven. They're going to take probably a good 30 minutes. We like them cooked really well, so I will show when those get closer to being done. The cheeseburger pie is going to be warming in the toaster oven. We've got the radish and cucumber salad with the parsley accent chilling here for serving, and we'll have the jicama, the marinated jicama, as one of the dishes too. But when I opened the fridge, I saw these strawberries, and so that made me think about maybe making some dessert and making the meal complete for my husband. I have some jars of double fermented kefir, milk kefir, so I think that I'm going to use those, use one of these with the strawberries, and probably some frozen strawberries as well, because these aren't quite enough to give it that strawberry oomph that I want. And I'm going to use my ice cream maker to turn this into some ice cream. The way you go from something that looks kind of unappealing to drink, like this kefir that has separated into the solids and the whey, is to use your blender. So I have a Vitamix blender, and I'm gonna blend this up. Just dump it into the blender. Pull that out. Switch it on. I will spare you the noise. I want to prove my point about this being something that could be pleasant as a drink, even though it looked really gross in the jar. So I decided to pour off some into a glass. So this could be sweetened with stevia if I wanted, or another sweetener. Probably I would use the stevia. It can also have other things added to it. I could go ahead and blend the strawberries into here and make just a strawberry fruit drink if I wanted. But this alone is a pleasant drink. We enjoy drinking this, and it's really good for the gut bacteria to help your gut be healthy. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and this is probably what I'm gonna break fast with tonight before we eat. I might as well pour one for him too, and I have 2 more jars of this in the fridge, so we'll get a double hit of kefir tonight. We'll get it as this drink, and then we'll get it as a strawberry ice cream. I'm gonna go ahead and dump the other jar in, and that'll get blended. But as part of making this ice cream, I have a little fiber trick to do. So I keep glucomannan powder in a container. I copied my little sister Martha's system of keeping things in containers out of sight, labeled and whatnot. So I could turn this on low without blowing you out sound-wise. Oh look, I made a mess up here. Let me wipe that down. It's always easier to clean up messes as soon as they happen so they don't dry on and make more work in the long run. So I always clean up as I go. So I'm gonna turn this on low. Just gonna need a little bit more. I want it to be mixing as I put in the glucomannan, because this stuff thickens up almost on contact with liquid. So I'm putting in 2 whole teaspoons of glucomannan. This is really good fiber that feeds the gut. Okay, that's good enough. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sweeten this, and I'm going to put the berries in. I'm going to doctor this thing up pretty good, so I'll show you that process. This is the jar I keep my stevia in, and this is 1/8 of a teaspoon, so I think this will require 2. Well, that would be 4 teaspoons, equivalent of 4 teaspoons of sugar. So yeah, I think it can handle the equivalent of 8 teaspoons of sugar. Now, this is something else that I keep on hand, except I need to get a spoon here. I'll use the baobab spoon. The other thing I'm going to put in this is baobab. So first, well, this is hibiscus flowers that has been powdered, and it's going to add some good nutrition here. I'm probably going to do that's probably about 1.5 teaspoons right there. And then this is baobab powder, very rich in vitamin C. So baobab, you can find it at Walmart. I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of baobab. Actually, I'm going to run that too. Stir. That's enough for now. So I amped it up with more vitamin C through the baobab, some more nutrition through the hibiscus. It's sweetened with the stevia. And I can also put some beetroot powder in. I had to step away and get a spoon. This is another nutritional powerhouse, beetroot powder. And it will add some more sweetening to it, natural sweetening. That was about a good tablespoon. I think I'll just let it be and not overwhelm it with the beet flavor. Sometimes I can go overboard. It's no great surprise to my family. I have washed these berries and I'm going to put them into the drink mixture. And you're probably thinking, wait, there's greens on top. Exactly, there's strawberry greens on top. Have you never considered eating the tops of the strawberry greens? Free greens. Now this alone isn't quite enough strawberry in here for me. So I'm gonna go to the back freezer and I have a bag of frozen sliced organic strawberries that I got from Walmart. So I'm gonna go get those and add some in. All right, so these are from Walmart. Organic, great value, sliced strawberries. I think that is where I will start. Let me set that aside. Now this is so full that I'm going to have to use the tamper device for the Vitamix. So that is this thing. Put the lid on. While I was in the back freezer, I also got out the frozen container that this is what I make the ice cream in, but I'll show that in a minute. So I'm gonna mix this without making you listen to that, and I'll show you in the end. Okay, so this is all mixed up. It's very full. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put the, whoops, got to get that off. Push that back. So this is the ice cream maker, Cuisinart. I got it off from Amazon. It just sits on there. And I cannot fill this totally up. I need to stop partway up. So I'm gonna have way more liquid than I need to make ice cream, but that's okay. I'm gonna improvise. The rest of it will probably be just left as a shake, a couple shakes in the refrigerator for tomorrow. So I think that is full enough right there. That may even be over full. Okay, and then this is the paddle that turns around. So that goes down in there. And then this goes over the top. And it has a little dot here that kind of slides into there. Now I will turn this on so you can hear what it sounds like. So this will just churn away until the contents are soft serve ice cream. I don't like listening to this. So I'm gonna take this and go put it in my laundry room. I have a big deep sink in there, shut the door, and I'll check it in probably 15, 20 minutes, and it'll be ready. Okay, it is ready. So I'm gonna unplug it, and we're going back to the kitchen so I can serve it. Okay, that comes off, and the paddle comes out. Are we running? So I just try to get it as much off as I can. And that's gonna just go over in the sink and get cleaned off in a minute. I can set it inside of here. So now, these become our dessert containers as well as our drink containers. And I try to fill them up as much as possible. So I'm estimating I'm going to end up with about 3 servings. And I like to try to scrape it off the side before it gets too frozen on, which it's already done because I've taken more time. I've been slow, but that's okay. So I am ending up with 3 glasses though. You lose some on the sides because that's where the freezing action is. It freezes with the contact. But if you let it set out, then it thaws off enough for you to scrape it and not have it wasted. Somebody can come along after dinner and eat up the scraps. So this will be 3 desserts for the 2 of us, but we'll each have one tonight, and then maybe I'll let Steve have the other one another night. Sometimes I eat separately from him, and so I could have a different dessert. Let's see. Put some more in this one. All right, so I have 3 portions, and these will go in the freezer until I get ready to serve. Just sit in the freezer. And everything else is ready. Now I'll set this aside. I'll clean some of it. I use this a lot, so I keep it handy. And now just to clean up the rest. This stuff. It's almost time to serve dinner, so I'm going to check my numbers before I break fast. And I'm using my Dario meter this time. Sometimes I've done videos showing the process with the Rely On Premier. And I'm also prepping my Keto Coach with a glucose test strip. So I need to get a test strip out for the Dario. That goes in there. And that goes in there. And then I only have to stab myself once. I'm going to use my pinky today. Draw a drop of blood. Make sure the meter's flashing. Suck that up in the pipette, and that's counting down. And there goes the Dario. So 0.6 and 84. 84 glucose, 0.6 ketones. All right, so I'm going to save that number. And now I'm going to do the calculation. Clear this. So that was 84 for a glucose divided by 0.6, and my insulin ratio is 140. So I'm under 200. The high mark of high insulin is anything ratio of 200 or above. And I'm going to be content with this 140 right now. So there's that. And then I actually fill it out on my sheet. I've been busy today, so I haven't taken as many numbers. This is at 5:12 p.m. and that was that 84? Gosh, I can't even remember now. Let's look back. 84. Okay. Short memory. Okay, 84. Whoops. Put that in here correct. 84 and the 0.6 for the ketones, and the answer was 140 for the ratio. And I also want to get the GKI. So I'm going to go back to the calculator. That 140 now divided by 18 will be the GKI, the glucose ketone index. I'm going to round it up to 8. So that goes back on the health chart. So there I was. Round it up to 8. Space 8. Okay. And that's for if I were taking my blood pressure and pulse. So at least I've recorded those numbers. And there is our dinner. All served, and I hear the garage door going up. Perfect timing. He's gonna walk in and dinner will be ready for him. Thank you for joining me during my cooking session.